Hi, everybody. Welcome back. Welcome back to Billboard Comics and another installment of our Growing Up Comics feature. In this one, I'm going to talk about growing up Batman. I wasn't actually Batman. Spoiler warning. Don't tell the Joker I was Batman because I wasn't Batman. I don't know why you would do that. Why you want to cause trouble like that. That's silly. Me, Batman? Come on, give me a break. Um, don't tell me I'm Batman. Um, but I digress. I was collecting and grew up loving comic books in the period between two major interpretations of the Batman character in pop culture media. And it helped define the entire uh, collecting and the hobby for me for that there and how people viewed me. And it was a certain annoyance that I had to live with. And I'm sure a lot of people actually had like a lot of like some of things like this or some problems like this. Um, the first Batman interpretation was the 1966 version of Batman. It only ran for 3 years, and it was off the air 2 years before I was born. Um, but it made such an impact on the way comic books were viewed um, from that point on um, until like the early '80s or late '80s. Um, it's immensely popular, even though it was only on for 3 seasons, and that doesn't seem like a lot nowadays when you have shows going for 15 seasons or 7 seasons or 10 seasons. Um, but but back then it was like a big deal. And the first season had 2 episodes a week, so it seemed like there's more episodes out there than you would normally expect from a 3 season show. But it became a pop culture sensation. It appeared on the cover of Life magazine. Uh, it was all over the place. It was everywhere you looked. Um, I might put some up here. I was looking through like the thing about like titles and stuff like this. People made reference to it in everything. Like car lots would make bam, pow, get yourself in a new Olds Cutlass or whatever. Zap, pow, bang, the cheapest prices in town. Um, it was that pervasive. It was that everywhere. And it got to this point where you'd find like um, zap, pow, bang for any kind of comic book related stuff, which was more than just a little bit annoying. It seemed to be like, you know, indicative of a whole attitude towards comic books and stuff like that. Series, I'm sure you're familiar with it. If you haven't seen it, it's on MeTV, I believe, still. You'll be able to find it on probably on, I don't know if it's on streaming. Probably if it is, it's probably on Max. But it was a pop art kind of kooky, crazy take on the Batman character. Very campy, highly campy. It's more or less a situation comedy featuring Batman and Robin. Um, every performance was over the top. You had Adam West who talks sort of like this, different than Bill Shatner, who talked like this, who was on the TV at the same time in Star Trek. Um, but it was like it set the example for comic books as being a joke, like nothing to be taken seriously. And the people who collected or read comic books were not to be taken seriously. And speaking as a little kid who got like picked on in school for a whole bunch of reasons, me being a comic book collector during this period of time and having people look down on me like I'm some kind of mental degenerate because I like comic books, because they're basing it on the opinion of what they got from the Batman TV series, really, really, really was really hard to deal with. Um, I, yeah, I just can't, I can't begin to tell you exactly that. And like, granted, like it's a lot of my own personal preconceptions in it and stuff like this, and like being touchy about it to be from the get go, but it just seemed like indicative of like who's this weirdo? Why is he in the comic books and stuff like this? This is one of the things like you kids these days have it better. I said I was going to say that a lot in the sequence, but comic books, due to all the movies that came out, were had made it more accepted with the more general public who might not have like 300 issues runs of Batman and Superman in their collections in their closet at home. Um, and part of the reason they did that was the that started it off was obviously the Superman movie from the 70s, but also Tim Burton's 1989 Batman movie. Now, I'm sure many people are familiar with it and might have seen it someplace. It's on Max again, I think, and it's been all over. It's your local TV channel probably plays it every so often. Um, but that a lot of people, a lot of comic book collectors, put a lot of their eggs in the basket of that being the movie that would change the general public's perception of comic books and comic book fans into that movie. There's a lot of stuff going into that, like because Batman was the more serious of the comic book characters, definitely more serious than Superman. He was grim, he was gritty, he had a tragic backstory. His parents died, and the pain for that made him fight crime. Um, there are themes going through that and stuff. It's you know, and the one thing we got before that was a TV series that seemed to ignore all of that. And now they want something, the movie, the Burton movie, to resemble the stuff that's in the comic books. The Batman has changed a lot from the '60s when the first one was on. The DC Comics kind of molded the comic book at that time to kind of like it's about to change into like something that's like a little more of a detective story. But before that, before the TV series gone, like in the '50s and the '60s, um, Batman would have a zebra suit he'd wear, crime, and he'd fight space aliens and other goofy kind of things. And it'd be like over the top, campy, kind of more silly kind of stuff. But over years since then, between them and 1999, it became more serious. It became um, more of a detective, more of a you know serious plot lines and stuff like that. So people were wanting the Batman movie to reflect the new Batman, but they were constantly afraid that the creators would just go back to what worked before the Batman TV series and just keep that as being the mold that you'd use for the movie. I'm sorry, my nose is itchy. Um, Getting over a cold, so it's probably just that. It's not like you know I'm a coke addict or whatever, so don't tell Batman that either. Um, don't tell Joker that either, or Batman, whoever. They don't exist. It's a joke. It's pitiful attempt at joke. Just pretend it didn't happen. But no, they put a lot of importance in like this, like being reflective of that. And the first thing Warner Bros. Did was pick a director for it who made two comedies. Tim Burton at the time was most known for doing Pee Wee's Big Adventure, the Pee Wee Herman starring vehicle, and Beetlejuice, which also starred Michael Keaton, a dark, quirky kind of but horror comedy. If you haven't seen either one of those, they're goofy, silly, kind of esoteric, kind of weird, kind of out there, but still nonetheless flat out comedies. So that was the first strike in many people's perception of the Batman movie. Um, Second strike was that um, Burton was going to had cast his Beetlejuice star Michael Keaton as Batman. Um, Michael Keaton had even a bigger resume of comedies beforehand, to his credit. Most notably, Night Shift. Night Shift is one of my favorite movies. I saw it probably way before I was supposed to, but he is awesome in it. Henry Winkler, the Fonzie from Happy Days, he's in it. Shelley Long's in it, and okay, I'm not going to go there, but she's very very attractive in that one. Um, it's a funny movie. I think Ron Howard's first directorial video. It seems to have been hidden there. Uh, to end the sidebar, if you have a chance of seeing the um, the thing, uh, Night Shift, go see it. But it's comedy, and so his major follow up, which is what's known for, was Mr. Mom. He also did another comedy called Gung Ho, about a man who's in a car company that was taken over by the Japanese, and it's clash of cultures and stuff like that. So pretty much everything in his resume up to that time of getting cast were comedies. So the both of them doing this stuff there made comic book collectors and readers lose their minds. That's the best way I can understand it. It's like, it's a good thing the internet was not around during that time, because it would probably just melt down because of all the stuff there. Um, but the people had to make do with going into fanzines and newspapers and, like, the um, Comics Buyer's Guide and Amazing Heroes, writing and complaining about the um, Batman movie and how Warner Bros. Is going to ruin it, and they don't want to have a comedy directed by Tim Burton and Michael Keaton, and, like, they don't trust him. How can they trust him about this? Um, and, like, I delved in it a little bit. Um, I did see a movie called Clean and Sober beforehand. Clean and Sober was a movie that starred Michael Keaton in it. Michael Keaton was it was his first dramatic role. It's pretty much a straightforward drama. Uh, you know, and it showed his acting chops. And he said, yeah, this guy could actually do stuff other than comedy. So there might be a chance to do this. That adds to, like, the fact that, like, you know Burton's style was quirky, but also there's a lot of darkness in it, a lot of dark humor, a lot of like the humor, like, some of it was like more morbid and stuff. Just about, like, dealing, like Beetlejuice, about these a couple who dies by driving off a, a covered bridge, and drowns, and they have to get this ghoul out of their who's trying to get rid of the living people who moved in their house, and they have to deal with him, and they have to deal with living people, and only Winona Ryder could see them, and it's a whole thing. But it was very dark and not the type of thing most comedies that they had. It wasn't exactly the kind of style that many of the uh, stuff had at the time. Comedy movies had at the time. So you had the potential of actually going to it being good. But if I'd be lying if I said I went to the first showing of the movie um, without trepidation and without being worried. Um, and, like, I do remember, like, I saw the movie for free. Um, Back when I was around the time, like, the local theater at the local mall, the Wyoming Valley Mall, General Cinemas. They on the weekends they had midnight movies. Usually they had uh, Rocky Horror Picture Show, which fits. Um, but they also have other movies there and stuff like that fits there. And, like the weekend that Batman came out, they had Batman as one of the midnight movies, and they offered up with, like, one of the local um, radio stations. That might be Q102, but it might be something else. Um, to give out tickets for the midnight showing. And I think, like, it was for any movie that you wanted to. I could want to see any movie that's at midnight at that time. But I chose Batman, and I didn't have a car anyway to get there, and my parents were not really hyped on dropping me off at midnight and staying up to 2 o'clock in the morning to pick me up. So I went with my friend Rick. Hi, Rick. He's seen a couple of these, and shout out to Rick. Hope you're still reading and watching and tagging along with this. I do appreciate your support. But we went there, and it was an experience. It was like a full experience with it. Um, Going into midnight showing, it was dark when you went into it. It was nighttime. The stars were out. You go in there. It's it's dark outside. Go to the theater. The theater's dark. The movie comes up. It's dark. Everything's shades of gray or dark blues and blacks, and you know it kind of helped, like creating the ambiance and mood for the put you in the right mindset for watching that movie for the first time, and seeing for the first time. And granted, looking back at it, you can see, like, as compared to, like, the more realistic Batman Begins, and especially like how the franchise like really went downhill into camp and silliness in the next couple movies. You could see like the stages of how there's a lot of humor in it, but it wasn't the silly kind of like pow, zap kind of one from the TV series. It was more mature, and it seems like a more serious take on that. And it dealt with like his trauma, and he's not normal, and he's has a compelling to this, and it also has him being a detective and has him being smart. So as a comic book fan, I was I think I saw it like about 3 or 4 times in the theater. I was out of this world watching it. I thought it was I thought it was brilliant. I thought it was really great. I became a big fan of. I was a fan of Michael Keaton's before that, but I became a fan of Tim Burton. I've been kind of like following his work, and usually if I see him direct something, I'll do that. But I just felt happy. Finally, at long last, we have a movie about Batman that was serious and had respect towards the original um, genre and the original source material and the character. Um, I mean, I can't tell you how happy I was to see that, and that was good. And I think there's a lot of step big step forward on comic books getting respect. Granted, there's a whole bunch of other stuff like Watchmen coming around and uh, Mouse being written by Art Spiegelman, and a whole bunch of stuff that slowly, surely uh, announced to the world that comic books aren't just for kids. There is a valid art form there that you never really realized. Um, but I am thankful for that for the first Batman movie, but doing that. Um, am I happy with the way it went to with bad credit cards and I see you later? No, no, not a big fan of that. Um, kind of glad that the um, Christopher Nolan movies ended what they did, so I didn't go down that far. Like what I see from the uh, Robert Pattinson Batman, Matt Reeves Batman, and stuff like this. But you know, it all comes back to like that first Batman movie where it kind of like you know made me feel good about like having superheroes adapted into other features. Because more often than not, when they came to the screen, you got a serious take on them. Um, all the way from there to Blade to you know the MCU to Warner's DC movies. Um, but it was interesting living during that time uh, where you'd have to actually be always on the defensive if you're a comic book fan because everybody mainly knows comic books from the Batman TV series, and that was a silly, mm, fluffy affair that if you took anything like that seriously, there might be something wrong with you, and you had to actually defend your hobby. To go to the Batman movie, which added a little air of respectability, or at least it is on the road down the road of being the genre being respected and stuff like that. So that's it for now. Um, if you have any memories of this time, if you agree with me, like how it was like basically the Batman movie helped change the opinion. Did you have experience with people who were influenced by the Batman TV series that affected you as a collector negatively in this time? If you have any questions about this time, put in the comments. We can start a conversation about it. Um, and if you like this, if you made it all the way to this point, please check the subscribe button and the thumbs up if you can. That'd be great. There'll be a whole lot more of this content coming in the future. Um, and if you want to see anything here or have any ideas for anything, put it in the comments, and I will try to pay attention and try to keep that up. Um, but yeah, and until next time, I am going to tell you, keep collecting and look at the skies for the bat signal, and don't tell Batman or Joker that I'm Batman or Joker. I don't know what that means.